When I was growing up, I had a very toxic relationship with money. Every time I spent money, even just a small amount of money, I would feel very guilty about doing it and I would feel bad about spending my money. I remember one year when I was quite young, in my early teens, and I'd been given some birthday and Christmas money. My birthday and Christmas are both in December. So I had some money, I went shopping with my sister, bought like about £100 worth of clothes, so the most I'd ever spent in one go, and I remember that evening feeling incredibly guilty. And then going forwards, I was just so extremely frugal and I was really scared of spending money. For like a really long time, I don't know where that mindset came from, but recently I've come to the realization that that sort of mindset stemmed from the fact that I knew nothing about money. I believed that money was there to be saved. Like, you would earn money and then you would save so much money, and then you'd be really rich, and that was the goal. That is all I knew. Nothing more, nothing less. That is what I thought about money. Hey guys, my name is Holly and I just share my life on this channel if you're new here. I don't usually talk about money, so I was quite like apprehensive to film this one, but I've been sort of planning it for a while and I thought, you know, if it helps at least one person, then it will be worthwhile. I don't know why I'm holding a pen. But yeah, for like my whole life, I've basically been very financially illiterate. Over the last few years, I've like really worked hard to not only understand like my finances, but finances in general, because I just think it's such an important skill to have, and I would consider myself on this journey to becoming like financially free. So in this video, I wanted to share like 6 of the main things that have really helped me change my mindset and then move towards becoming financially free, as I said. So I really hope this video helps you guys out. Definitely like it if you do, and I'm just gonna share some disclaimers because I feel like it's necessary in this video. I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. I've just like worked with accountants and a financial advisor for a few years now, so you know, I thought I would share what I've learned because a lot of it has come from them. I'm also not doing this to flex and be like, you know, I have a lot of money and I'm doing all of this. I truly believe we can all like help improve our financial situation, but you know, I am just one person, so if you can't relate to me, you are more than welcome to go and find a different video to learn from someone else. And I encourage you to, you know, seek different perspectives, because money, even though it shouldn't be, is a taboo topic, and so that's why it's important not just to listen to one person like myself. And the last thing I'll say is, yes, times are tough right now. I don't want to be ignorant to that, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and you learn from it. As I said, like it if you do, subscribe if you're new, and we will dive straight into the video. For me, like, if we throw it back, I started making money when I was really young. I was in Billy Elliot the musical. If you didn't know, I was a dancer, grew up performing, and I was in the West End musical for a year, so I was paid like £30 a show. Literally one of the best experiences of my life, but that was the first time I started to properly earn money. But did I understand money? No, and everything was like organized by my mom, so that money for me was just put into a savings account. And then if we fast forward to like university, that is when I started this YouTube channel. At that point, you know, 18-year-old Holly, that is when I was like, okay, this is my money now, I am earning money, I can see it for myself. And I guess that was like the start of my finances journey, but it's taken me a really long time to get to the point where I am now. And one of the main things I like didn't realize for a long time is that when you are young, your biggest financial asset is time. Basically what I'm trying to say is the sooner you start, the better off you'll be in the future, because when you're young, you can really take advantage of like compounding. I remember learning about compound interest and simple interest in maths. Compounding means you earn interest on both your savings and the interest that you earn, so it's like interest on interest, and so money grows rapidly when it compounds, in contrast to simple interest. So lesson number 1 basically is to start early, and I kind of have 3 things I would suggest doing like as soon as you can, and with these you can kind of like level up. So I think the foundation is to start learning early. Nowadays we have so many resources that we can like tap into. The second thing is to start earning money as soon as possible, so whether that's taking up a part-time job at school alongside university, or you know, for me, alongside my studies, I started a YouTube channel and started earning money. And then the third thing, which will lead me on to my next tip in this video is to start investing as soon as possible, because as I said, you can then take advantage of compounding. If you start investing money from a young age, by the time you like retire, you could technically be a millionaire. Tip number 2 is the millionaire method. And yeah, I'm not saying I'm a millionaire, but hear me out on this. When I started working with my financial advisor, I had to do what's called a risk assessment. I remember having to fill out this form where you basically answer questions and it determines your level of risk when it comes to investing. The questions where they were like, how comfortable are you with seeing your money decrease in value? I was like, I'm not comfortable with that, okay? Like, I don't want my money to go down. I was so scared. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of people don't invest. You know, they hear the word investing and they're like,
oh my gosh, that's so scary. I could lose money. It's really confusing. Or like, I need a lot of money to invest, so it's only for rich people.
But I want to sit here and tell you guys that those are all myths. And the key piece of the puzzle that I was missing is that, you know, I was going to be investing over a long period of time. And if you're investing over a longer period, you can afford to take a higher risk, because yes, your money might decrease in value, but the gains are a lot higher. And so over time, those fluctuations will average out. So you just need to choose your level of risk that's appropriate for the time frame you're going to be investing for. And so lesson number 2 is to make your money work for you by investing. And when we're investing, it means we're buying assets, so things that grow in value. Instead of putting our money into what we call liabilities, those are going to take money out of your pocket. So things like buying a car, buying clothes, materialistic things. A lot of people adopt the mindset of saving money like I did. You know, I need to save all of my money and I need it to sit in a savings account. But the problem with savings accounts is that a lot of them don't earn you that much interest, so your money will just deflate in value. You know, we have inflation, so the value of that will actually decrease over time, and you're losing out on growing your money through investing. So the first actionable tip in this section is to invest in index funds. And I'm going to break down index funds because, you know, a few years ago, I had no idea what they were, but I started investing in index funds when I was in my early 20s. The way I invest is I invest in what's called a stocks and shares ISA. Now, there are loads of different types of ISAs, is the first thing to say. A stocks and shares ISA is just one type of ISA. An ISA in itself is like this wrapper, they say, but it's a tax efficient way to save and invest your money, so to make your money grow. And there are quite a few reasons why it's tax efficient, but with an ISA you can invest or like add up to £20,000 every tax year. You can withdraw that money at any time and not pay what's called capital gains tax on it, and you also don't pay tax on any interest that you earn. So they're really tax efficient ways of, as I said, saving and investing your money. I really hope I'm explaining this in a way that's clear, but if we go to my stocks and shares ISA, within that I invest in what's called index funds. Now, I think the best way to explain an index fund is to just like give an example. So there's something called the S&P 500, which is a group of the biggest 500 companies in the US. And, you know, you could individually invest in those companies. You could pick the ones that you think are going to grow. But instead of investing in them individually, because, you know, nobody can predict the future, you can invest in the S&P 500 index fund, where you invest in all of them and they will give you consistent returns. But that's just one index. You can choose others, and you choose a level of risk that you are okay with. Like if you're investing over a long time frame, you can take a higher risk because you have time on your side. But if you're investing over a shorter time frame, maybe take a lower level of risk. It really depends on you, but like you can get really great returns. But how you can get started with investing in like a stocks and shares ISA and then index funds within that ISA is you just need to go to a provider first of all. So you can go to platforms like Trading 212 or like Vanguard, Fidelity, Aviva. There are so many providers of stocks and shares ISA. You open an account, you add money in a lump sum, or you can drip feed money in. And something that I want to show you guys, as I said, to like prove to you that you could be a millionaire by the time you retire if you start investing early. So there's this like compound interest calculator. You can find any of them online, but let's just say you put no money into an initial investment. Let's say you invest in the S&P 500 So let's say 8% return rate. We could say 7 to be a bit more conservative. Let's say you start investing when you're 20 years old, and if the retirement age right now in the UK, I think is like 66, it's set to increase. But let's say it's 66, so you're going to be investing over 46 years. And let's say every month you're going to put into that account £500. You could make 2 million, just over 2 million pounds. I just want to compare that to investing over a shorter time period, because this is obviously compounding. That's why you're a 2 millionaire by the time you retire. Let's say you only start investing when you're 40 years old. You're going to retire at 66 still, so that gives you 26 years. You're still going to be investing £500, no initial deposit. Let's calculate your net worth at the end. That is only going to be 440,000, which is still a lot of money, don't get me wrong, but it's just not as much as 2 million. And so that's why, as I said, like, as well as investing, you should try and invest as early as you can. And you don't have to put in a lot of money. It's just about being consistent and putting money aside. Within this point of the millionaire method, I wanted to share some other ways that you can make your money grow. So as I said, the second tip is to invest in a LISA, so not a stocks and shares ISA. So a LISA is a different type of ISA, and this is really good if you're like going to be a first-time buyer and you want to buy your first property. The third thing you can do is invest in stocks and shares outside of an ISA, but as I said, the reason why I'm suggesting an ISA is because they're really tax efficient. Number 4 is so important. It's to not leave your money in a savings account that makes you zero interest. For example, if you do want your money in a savings account, find one that will generate interest. So for example, I have a Monzo account and they have their savings pot and they have really good interest rates. So I have a big chunk of my money, which I'll talk about, in my Monzo savings pot. It has a specific purpose, but it's liquid money and it's in a savings account and it has a good interest rate. So do your research if you are going to just put money in a savings account. And the fifth one is the second key way in which I invest my money. So as I said, I have a stocks and shares ISA, and then I also have a high risk pension fund as well. This is high risk because I will not touch this money. I cannot touch this money until I retire, which will be beyond the age of 66 because it's going to go up. And similar to my stocks and shares ISA, this money is invested in index funds. So it's compounding over time and it's growing and it's growing and it's growing, and I drip feed money into my pension because, as I said, I'm trying to maximize the asset that I have on my side right now, which is time, and the fact that it can compound. So yeah, piece of advice number 3 then is the 999 fund. Remember I spoke to you guys about my Monzo savings pot? I have money in that. It's generating interest. I'm now going to specifically talk about what that is, why it's there. We literally can't predict the future. You know, life is really unexpected. Sometimes things will happen that are completely out of your control. For example, like you might lose your job, or you might decide actively that you want a career change, like a big career change, and that might mean, you know, stepping away from employment and then taking a bit of a break. And that is why the 999 fund is so important. What I'm referring to is basically the emergency fund. The important thing with this emergency fund is it is money you do not touch. Like, you don't touch that emergency fund money. You might not ever touch it in your whole entire life, but it will be there to support you if things start to go a bit wrong. You know, if you do quit your job, or you lose your job, or you make a big career change, it is a financial buffer, and trust me, you will regret it if you don't have it there. An emergency fund is recommended to be like 3 to 6 months of essential outflowings, so you can survive on money until you sort yourself out. And where you have that money, it doesn't really matter, but for me, I have it in a Monzo savings pot because it does generate interest. So it's not just sitting in a savings account making nothing, but you can put it in other places, like a different savings account that generates decent interest. You could put it in a cash ISA. You could put it in a stocks and shares ISA because, you know, importantly, that money has to be liquid. You have to be able to instantly access that money whenever you need it. But the thing with a stocks and shares ISA is, you know, there is a bit more risk in that if you need to use that money when the stocks are down, you know, that money might have depreciated in value. So a savings account is probably more appropriate, a cash ISA, or you could choose something that's called premium bonds. They claim you could win the million, but the chances are it's so slight, so don't put your money on that, but you can win money every month, basically. So it has this kind of element of fun in it. Right. Tip number 4 is to crunch the numbers. And when I say crunch numbers, like, I truly mean crunch numbers. Do not do it all in your head. Last year, around Christmas time, New Year, Angela and I made this crazy spreadsheet. We were ultimately trying to work out whether it was best to buy or to rent. We came to our conclusions, but we also within this spreadsheet did like loads of budgeting. We worked out how much we'd spend on different things, how much money we earn, and we made this massive spreadsheet. I don't know where this quote comes from, who said it, and what it kind of is exactly, but it's something like plans are worthless, but planning is essential or everything. And I think it speaks so much truth here, because the action here is to do some headache-inducing number crunching in a spreadsheet. It doesn't matter how you do it. You could find maybe a template online, but you need to plan and organize your money. You need to work out what are your essential outflowings. Like, do you pay rent every month? Are you paying a mortgage? Like, how much you spend on food, bills, like the essentials. Then you need to work out your income and ideally your net, so after tax has been deducted. And then you need to work out how much money you have left over, how much do you want to invest, maybe into a stocks and shares ISA, maybe into a pension fund, and then how much is left over for you to just use on what you want. Be conservative in your estimates. Like, there's that thing where you can, you know, round down your income and round up your expenses, and that way you'll always end up better off, sort of thing, is something I've heard, and which is quite useful as a method and something to do when you're budgeting or to think about. But when you have this spreadsheet and this budget, you can then set financial goals and you can track progress towards those goals. Like, it just can't all be done in your head, is what I'm basically saying. You need to properly sit down and crunch the numbers. That is the first thing you should do, I think, after this video. Like, go home or stay at home, wherever you are, like, do the numbers, do the maths, make the spreadsheet, crunch the numbers. Tip number 5 is then to be a smartie. Yes, Smarties were those chocolates I used to eat when I was not vegan, but be a smartie. This is, yeah, something that relates directly back to, you know, what I was talking about at the start with my scarcity mindset, being extremely frugal, having a lot of money anxiety, being worried about spending money, scared about spending money, feeling bad about that. I carried this weight for a really long time, and it wasn't until I started earning money for myself, I started then spending my money. I was working with accountants and financial advisors, and I was learning. This is when my mindset changed, and it's only been really recently, within like the last 1 to 2 years, when I've truly got to grips with money. Like, if you'd have asked me 2 years ago to be like, Holly, tell me about your financial situation, where's it all going, like, what are you planning, I would have been like, I don't know. I knew that I had to work on that, because if I was going to change my mindset around money, I had to understand it, and then I had to learn and do my research. And ultimately that allowed me to change my scarcity mindset into one of like abundance, where I was thinking about money in a more positive way. I was thinking about making my money work for me and grow, and not always being so worried about money. And one of the things that's really important here is to like let go of some of the narratives you've been fed as you've been growing up. Like, I'm not saying there was anything wrong with the way I was brought up at all, and I'm not blaming my parents, but like sometimes you do have to go against the grain and you have to do the different thing. Like, for example, my parents are very big on cars and driving, and they think I should be able to drive, and I do agree it's a valuable skill, and I can drive. I learned how to drive, but like, I'm not going to be the one to own a car, at least anytime soon. I don't really want to own a car. I just don't want my money to go into something that's going to depreciate in value. I just see them as these big chunks of metal. They're polluting, they're big and annoying, they're dangerous. Like, this is just my extreme view. You don't have to agree with it, but like, for those reasons, I don't see myself owning a car. I can take public transport, I can cycle, I can walk. It's about, you know, sometimes not always agreeing with what your parents want you to do, which can be a really hard thing, don't get me wrong. But like, you do have to let go of certain narratives and ideas you've been fed. But this idea of being a smartie is to make smart money decisions. And to me, that looks like spending more money on the things that matter to you and spending less on the things that you don't care about. And so I want to go through 4 tips that will hopefully help you guys be smarter with your money. And the first one is to adopt more of a minimalist mindset. Now, I'm not saying you have to be that person that literally only owns like a sofa, or not even a sofa in their house. What I'm basically saying is don't buy more than you need. And that leads me on to saying that, you know, you need to stop spending money on things that you're buying just to look good for someone else, or to be able to post on like Instagram or social media to like flex in a way. Like, there is no point in spending money on that thing. The third one, leading on from that as well, is to buy stuff that's good quality. Like, if you are going to buy something that is technically a liability, because we all do buy liabilities, buy stuff that's good quality and stuff that will last. Don't buy something that's going to break within a week and then you're going to have to repurchase it and spend more money. Like, it's better off to invest in something a bit more expensive up front. I really can't count these points or keep a track of them. But the next one is to not buy on impulse. Like, you really have to think about whether you actually need something. You know, if I'm gonna make a purchase, I do personally overthink quite a bit, but I will sleep on it. And, you know, maybe ask someone else, like, to get their perspective. There is this like 50-30-20 rule where it's like 50% of your income, so ideally your net income after tax, goes towards essentials, 30% goes towards wants, and 20% towards needs. I feel like the 30 and the 20 should be the other way around. Like, you should be putting more of your money towards investments and like savings, things that are gonna grow your money, as we talked about before in the millionaire method, and then you spend less money on the things you want. Because if you are like trying to be more minimalist and only buying things you need and not buying on impulse and stuff like this, really you won't need to spend that much on the things you need. And the last tip that my financial advisor actually taught me, this hasn't happened yet, but if you are a homeowner and you're paying off a mortgage, ideally you don't want that to be like more than 30% of your net income. The final piece of advice, number 6, is to take the swing. Now, I started, as I said, my YouTube channel when I was in my first year at university, or before I even started really. I set up this channel, Holly Gabrielle. It's been my brand ever since, and I now have this whole business around it. But yeah, if I were to like go back and start a YouTube channel again and like rebrand myself, build a business from scratch, I would do it so differently. And I feel like there are so many resources we can use now that can help you build a business in the most strategic way. Like, I just did it very spontaneously. I wanted to vlog my life. It was like this hobby thing. But if I really wanted to, you know, get into YouTube or content creation and social media and this creatorpreneurship, I think that's the word they use, space, I would do it very differently. And something I've heard recently is what Jeff Bezos said. He basically compared setting up a business to like a game of baseball. I don't know anything about baseball, but apparently you can only run 4 times. You can have a maximum of 4 runs or something when you swing and you hit the ball. In the UK we played something called rounders, not baseball. But anyway, with business is what Jeff Bezos says, you know, when you like take a swing and you're starting a business, the gains are like infinite. You know, you could do so many runs technically. That's the difference between baseball and setting up a business. When you take a swing, you can run way more than 4 times. In contrast to being an employee and working like a 9-to-5 job for like a corporate company, like your income and your finances are always going to be capped. I'm not saying you can't invest and save and be smart with your money. You can do all of those things, but like your income will always be capped. Whereas if you work yourself and you set up a business, you can grow it and keep growing it, and there is basically no ceiling. So this piece of advice is all about setting up your own brand and your own business. And it doesn't have to be your full-time thing. It could just be a side hustle. So the things that you can start thinking about and doing are, first of all, like just researching all of the different passive income streams, especially those that are online. So like you could set up a YouTube channel, an Instagram page, you could be a content creator, you could write an ebook, sell guides, set up an email newsletter. There's drop shipping, Shopify, so many things you can do these days, and there are so many options to consider. And as I said, like linked to that is to really focus on how you can make money online, because that's where things are going these days. Tip number 3 is basically what I've alluded to, but it's to have multiple income streams. As I said, you could have like a 9-to-5 job, but you could also have this side hustle on the side. And that's the thing with millionaires. They don't just have a single stream of income. The 4th piece of advice is something I don't do, so I don't know a lot about this, but you know, you could consider going into the property market, buying property and renting it out. I don't know, renting out on Airbnb, stuff like that. That's another market and industry that you can get into, and it's another way to make money. So that is basically all of my advice in one video. I appreciate I may have like skimmed over some things, so if you want a bit more detail or you want to like see some of these tips put into my day-to-day life, I can definitely make more of these financy videos. As I said, I've never really made any before, so I was a bit apprehensive, but yeah, please share your feedback down below. Let me know what you guys think. I'm not sitting here and saying that I want to be a millionaire, and I don't think you should sit there and say the same, because in saying that, you're basically saying that you want the thing that £1 million will buy you, whether it be that really fancy car or that massive house. And that's kind of like the wrong mindset to have. For me, I just want to be financially free and not a millionaire. Like, I don't care about having £1 million in the bank account. Like, to me, it's just about having this financial freedom. And that kind of like freedom will look different to everyone. It's not about having X amount in the bank. Everyone is in a completely different situation, and again, that's why I think you guys should go away and watch other videos, don't just listen to me. Down below, I'm gonna leave a link to my website where I share free travel itineraries. I didn't talk anything about travel in this video, but if you want to travel, that might be something that you want to do with your money. I have free itineraries down below. You don't pay anything for them, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. As I said, definitely like it if you did. Subscribe if you're new and hit the bell so you know when I upload. And as always, I will leave you with the bloopers and speak to you very soon in another video. Bye guys! The children are outside in the school. Tip number 1 is to put your hair behind your ear. I'm leaving the window over there open because I just love the fresh air, and I've taken my hay fever tablet today, so I should be fine. I shouldn't be attacked. I'm also going back to Cambridge next week, which is kind of... well, I'm scared, you guys. I'm really scared because I'm talking on a panel. I'm speaking in front of an audience on stage, and speaking, even though I've grown up performing, is just so scary to me.